few months ago, I rewatched Home Alone, not with a kid, not on Christmas morning, alone on a Tuesday as a grown adult. And something happened that I wasn't expecting. About 20 minutes in, I felt something shift. Not just fondness, not just the pleasure of something familiar, something closer to grief. Like I was homesick for a place that doesn't exist anymore. And then I rewatched E.T. and I cried, like I have many times, as an adult, though. Who knows exactly how movies work? Who knows it's a puppet and a child actor and a John Williams score designed to break you open, like a John Williams score normally does? I knew all of that, and I still cried. And I remember sitting there afterward, wondering, what just happened to me? That question is what this episode is about. Welcome to the Silver Frame, where stories expose the human mind. I'm your host, Miguel Velasquez, and this show exists because of moments exactly like that one. When a story does something to you that you didn't ask for and couldn't explain. Every episode, we take one of those moments and we look at the psychology underneath it, what it's doing to us, why it works, and what it reveals about who we are. This is episode 3. And today we're going after one of the most powerful forces in all of cinema. An emotion that Hollywood has turned into a business model. An emotion that reaches into you before your brain has a chance to decide anything. Nostalgia. Hollywood is in love with your past. Think about the films that have dominated the last several years. Top Gun, Maverick, Inside Out 2, Ghostbusters Afterlife. None of these are original stories. They are invitations back to something you already love. Inside Out 2 became the highest grossing animated film of 2024. And what it was really selling, underneath the new characters and the new plot, was a feeling. That's not an accident. That's a system. And by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly how that system works and why it works on all of us, even the ones who know better. So what is nostalgia, really? Because we use the word casually. Oh, this is nostalgic. I'm feeling nostalgic. But psychologists have a very specific definition. Nostalgia is a sentimental longing for a personally meaningful past. Notice what that means. It's not just missing something. It's a bittersweet emotion, warm and melancholy at exactly the same time. That combination, warmth and sadness together, is what I felt rewatching Home Alone. It wasn't purely happy. It was happy and aching, both at once. Here's something that surprised me when I researched this. For most of history, nostalgia was considered a disorder, a medical condition. It was first described by a Swiss physician in the 1600s, a kind of homesickness so severe it could make soldiers physically ill, cause fever, anxiety, wasting, a disease of longing. But then psychologist Constantine Sedikidis at the University of Southampton spent 2 decades studying nostalgia. He found something that overturned all of that. Nostalgia is not a disorder. It's actually good for us. It increases feelings of social connectedness. It counteracts loneliness. It makes life feel more meaningful. When I cried watching E.T. as an adult, that wasn't weakness. That was my brain doing something it was actually built to do. But here's the part that really stopped me. Sedikidis found that nostalgia works even for things you never personally experienced. You can feel nostalgic for a decade before you were born. I know I feel that when I watch all the 80s flicks and listen to music from the 80s, or even before then, for a world that you never actually lived in. Because nostalgia isn't really about the past. It's about feeling of belonging. And this is exactly where Hollywood gets very smart. Because what a nostalgic film offers isn't actually the past. It offers you a feeling. Think about Top Gun Maverick, released in 2022, 36 years after the original. The people who saw the first film were now in their 50s. They didn't go just to see an action film. They went to feel something they hadn't felt in a very long time. Maverick made $1.4 billion at the global box office, the highest grossing film of Tom Cruise's career. Why? Because it didn't try to replace the original. It honored it. It brought back the feeling. And then, crucially, it gave you something new to hold on to. That's the formula Hollywood has figured out. Step 1, acknowledge the past. Show them you remember what they loved. Prove you understand why it mattered. Step 2, restore the feeling. Don't just reference it. Recreate the emotional experience. The warmth, the stakes, the specific texture of the world. Step 3, add something worth caring about. Give them a reason to be here now, not just a reason to remember then. Acknowledge the past, restore that feeling, add something worth caring about. The studios that get this right build something that lasts. The studios that get it wrong, well, they leave you feeling cheated. But not every studio gets it right, because nostalgia is a drug. And like any drug, it can be used or it can be exploited. There's something researchers call nostalgic exploitation, when a studio banks entirely on the feeling without doing the emotional work to earn it. Think about the reboots that landed flat. They had the IP, the budget, the marketing. They had everything except an understanding of what made the original matter. Because nostalgia isn't about seeing something similar. It's about feeling seen. The original Ghostbusters worked because it was about outcasts, people who didn't fit anywhere, finding each other. The original Lion King worked because it was about grief and the terrifying question of whether we deserve to be loved after loss. If you reboot those stories without understanding their emotional core, you get the aesthetic without the meaning, the costume without the person inside it. And audiences feel the difference. They always do. Because nostalgia isn't a trick you play on people. No. It's a trust you earn. So here's the deeper question I want us to sit with. Why do we need nostalgia so much right now? Psychologists have a term, nostalgia proneness. It's how frequently someone experiences nostalgic feelings. And research shows that nostalgia proneness goes up during periods of uncertainty, transition, and stress. Think about the years we've just lived through. A global pandemic, economic instability, a fractured sense of shared reality. Is it any surprise that the most successful films of this era are the ones that bring us back to something similar? That ask, do you remember when you felt safe? Sadikidis described nostalgia as a warm, fuzzy feeling with a tinge of sadness. And that combination, warmth and sadness together, is exactly what we seek when the present feels too uncomfortable to sit with. When I rewatched Home Alone, I wasn't trying to escape. I was trying to return. Return to a version of myself who believed the world made sense, who had somewhere safe to land. That's what nostalgia gives us. Not the past. A version of ourselves that still believes in it. But here's the part I find most fascinating. The nostalgic films that actually work, the ones people still talk about, the ones that earn their place, they're not really about the past. Inside Out 2 is a perfect example. It's a sequel full of callbacks, familiar characters. It gives you everything you loved from the 2015 film. That's not nostalgia as escapism. That's nostalgia as a container. A place where you feel safe enough to encounter something new and difficult. Attachment researchers have a term for this. They call it a secure base. The idea that when we feel anchored, when something feels familiar and holds us, we can explore from that place. We can face things that would otherwise feel too overwhelming. The familiar characters, familiar world, they are the secure base. And from that base, Inside Out 2 asks you to look at something genuinely hard. That's why E.T. still makes me cry. It's not just that I loved it as a kid. It's that when I watch it as an adult, I feel the weight of everything I've lost since then. Everything I've had to say goodbye to. The film holds all of that, and it lets me feel it safely. The best storytellers understand this. They use nostalgia not as a destination, but as a door. So what does this mean for us? The next time a film brings you back, the next time a sequel, a reboot, a familiar score hits you out of nowhere, don't brush past it. Stay there for a second. Ask yourself, what exactly am I returning to? What feeling is this restoring? What version of myself is being called home? Because that answer will tell you something true about who you are, about what you need, about what you're still carrying. I rewatched E.T. and I cried. And what that told me, when I finally sat with it, was that I was grieving something I hadn't grieved, something that I haven't given myself permission to grieve. The film gave me permission. That's what nostalgia does at its best. It doesn't take you back. It takes you deeper. Thank you for watching The Silver Frame. If this episode reminded you of a film that hit you harder than you expected, a rewatch that got you somewhere you were not ready for, leave a comment and tell me all about it. I read every single one. Next episode, I'm bringing back a guest I think you're gonna love. We're going somewhere darker, somewhere into the psychology of why we love monsters, the creatures we fear, the ones we root for, and what that pull towards darkness reveals about who we actually are. Until then, keep watching, keep feeling, and remember, stories expose the human mind.